Citrix Health Check is really like a yearly checkup that you might do with the doctor, right? You really want to understand, are you running optimally? Do you have any issues? Is there something that you need to bring up that is a pain point for you or your organization? So a E360 Citrix Health Check is really meant to look at your environment, review what you have as an organization, try to address any pain points that you may already have, and really focus on delivering what is the next step for you to address and remediate those issues. How do you know if an E360 Citrix Health Check is right for you? Well, Citrix has been around for over 20 plus years. In that time, in your particular deployment, hopefully you've stayed up to date, but more than likely you haven't. That's probably resulted in your users calling and complaining about performance issues, troubleshooting something, and really trying to figure out what's going on. And at the end of the day, probably blaming Citrix for any of their issues. A Citrix Health Check will help to make sure you understand what's really going on in your environment and make sure you remediate and address those. So what is the approach that E360 takes around a Citrix Health Check? First, we're going to review your environment. We're going to look at all layers of the Citrix infrastructure. We're going to look at the management plane, how you're deploying images, how you're managing profiles, how you're delivering applications into your images, understanding the access components, identity components. We're going to look at everything, including infrastructure that is being used for the workloads themselves. Next, we're going to take all of that information we found, analyze it, document it, and present it back to you so that you understand where you are going to remediate near-term tasks and long-term tasks for the organization. There's also an optional step that some of our clients that want to have executive level presentations, right? So as part of our findings and our documentation process, we're going to summarize those as an executive PowerPoint that you can take to your executives to get funding and really try to address some of those tasks and remediations. So what are some of the variables that can affect the size and budget for a Citrix Health Check? First, number of farms. Second, number of users. Third, the number of NetScalers. There also is some variables around how you're managing or provisioning images. So if you're leveraging provisioning server from Citrix versus machine creation services or other capabilities, that also has an impact on the size. But at the end of the day, you're typically talking from 1 to possibly 6 to 10 weeks, depending on how customized your environment is. A really great example of a Citrix Health Check helping a customer address some of the issues in their organization was a couple of months ago, where the customer really was trying to figure out why they were getting an increased number of support tickets related to Citrix. They didn't understand why. They thought there was just something wrong with what they've done, what they've deployed. When we performed the Citrix Health Check, we really helped them understand that they were growing the number of users in their organization, but IT did not know that. So they were increasing usage, but the IT infrastructure had not been able to keep up. So we're able to quickly identify that they did not have enough capacity to run those additional users. And then we helped them perform a remediation task short term to limit the number of users that were coming into the system, try to address the amount of infrastructure that was being used while they were procuring new hardware to deal with the additional users. At the end of the day, didn't even turn out to be a Citrix problem, turned out to be a capacity problem. So if Citrix is important to your organization because of mission critical apps, or just because you don't want to get any more support tickets around Citrix, an E360 Citrix Health Check is the answer.